It was a good practice. Good energy. It was a little cooler out there, so guys recognize that right away. But we're striving for, consistency and performance now as you get into, the middle of your preparation. So you want to see some things that start to repeat themselves. And some good things on both sides of the ball are beginning to kind of show themselves as repetitive and in nature and, reflect the kind of things that we're looking for to be a successful team.
What stood out to you?
I think the playmaking ability on offense, there's a number of different guys that have weapons that we, can count on, from an offensive standpoint. And I think defensively we're playing very well at the edge of our defense. Cornerback safety position is, very active, and you can see that. You can just see it during the practice and 7-on-7 and the one-on-ones that, we get guys competing for the football. Feel really good about, the ability to do some things defensively that, sometimes you worry about, putting a guy out on an island. We're going to have to do that sometimes, and I think we can hold up. Raise your hand. You heard him. We'll get you a mic. We got to follow the rules here. You guys have been getting sloppy.
All right. Kevin Austin, curious your expectations for him, your impressions of him so far, and your hopes for this season.
Yeah. Well, one thing that he brings that's kind of unique to our entire football team is his ability to handle a lot of volume during practice. I mean, he's a finely conditioned athlete in the sense that, he comes back the next day, recovers extremely well, knows how to take care of his body. He's a lot more matured in a sense that he has the knowledge of what it takes to come out every day at a high level. And that's just a maturity that he's been obviously somebody in high school that has trained that way. So he's unique in that sense. So when we see a freshman that can handle the volume, we're gonna push him in there. He doesn't know 50% of the playbook, but he's got that volume and that skill set that, as you can all see, and I'm sure that's why you're asking the question. He's a guy that can help us this year.
With both Brandon and Ian, how do you feel like those guys handle the growing pains this part of practice, and are they kind of where you'd hope them to be at this stage of preseason camp?
Oh, yeah. I mean, we're way ahead of where we were last year with both quarterbacks, certainly just by experience alone, right? We came into this, we were having this same meeting, right? And your number one and number two quarterback hadn't played, right? That's a different feeling for a head coach than coming in here and they've won football games and they've had success. They've been in the mix. So obviously we're way ahead of where we were last year, and now you guys weren't there at the end, but we're spending most of the time at the end of practice working on situational football, and that's where we've got to be learning at the quarterback position is the situational football, and that was different. We couldn't do that last year.
We would have loved to have been there.
Yeah, I don't know what Birch was thinking. I told him to keep you there. He's been really tough this year.
The last one for me, Isaiah Robertson.
Yeah, we moved him over to offense. We just feel like there's a logjam at the position at which he was at, and he's a really good athlete. He played wide receiver in high school. He's got some skills. He showed that today. He doesn't know what he's doing, offensively, but in the blue zone, showed soft hands, went up and caught the football with dexterity, didn't feel like it was clumsy to him, it was natural. So he's a guy that will continue to progress on the offensive side.
Brian, to your left, what's the timetable for Robert Hainsey coming back at the
Tuesday. We wanted a full 7 to 8 days, somewhere in that range, so we didn't risk inflaming the tendon again. So we're on that timetable. He's weight training, he's conditioning. He wants to get off the med squad in the worst way. He said it's harder than practicing. So, yeah, but we're shutting him down until we know that we've gone through that window where we don't re-aggravate the tendons.
I guess in his wake, Josh Lugg gets more reps. He gets more strength. How has he looked in camp for you?
He's done a good job, and Trevor has too. So, I mean, those are guys that we're going to naturally have to plug into those spots right around now in camp anyways. Same thing with the quarterback situation. This is where, ones and twos have to be split. Arms start to get tired. Tendinitis can kind of creep up, and you want to start splitting reps and maintaining, the continuity. But, you've got to give these guys the opportunity to recover too.
And the last receiver spot, we see Boykin and Claypool obviously out there. Where has Chris Fink improved? He seemed to have had a very good camp.
Yeah, his power and strength, his ability to get in and out of his cuts, much more explosive, can handle himself on the perimeter by sticking his foot in the ground now and have some explosiveness that maybe he lacked last year. So that's all on Chris. His ability to do those things is a direct correlation to how hard he's worked to get to this point.
Coach, you gave Tyler Newsome a big old hug in the middle of practice today.
Yeah.
What provoked that?
I'm a hugger. You guys know that. No, I mean, we've been working on some things relative to consistency in practice. He's such a great kid. And, the point to him was that I want tough gentlemen. I want gentlemen off the field, but on the field, when it's time, I need you to be tough-minded. I need you in there and be consistent. He's got such a great leg. He sometimes overthinks the process a little bit. And I just wanted him to go in there, be aggressive, start kicking more consistently, and have back-to-back kicks with 4.5 hang time. So that was the big hug.
And Coach Polian, he runs around, has a lot of energy out there for you. What does he, bring to team and practices for you on a daily basis?
Well, I think first and foremost, just an attention to detail and focusing strictly on special teams allows him to see all the little things that go into having a successful unit. So his energy is really focused at one thing. He's not coaching another position. So being a head coach, he has a great attention to all of those things. Not that you wouldn't if you weren't just a special teams coach that didn't been a head coach, but it lends itself to be important in special teams because there's so many details that have to be followed.
Last one for me, Coach. Will Coach Polian have a voice by the end of the season?
No, he will not. I mean, he continues to go, and he's even louder in the meetings, so it's kind of difficult sometimes.
You also mentioned, I think, Jordan Jim Markeith previously, guys that can take a lot of volume. Tranquil, Coney, of course, those are guys that can do the same. But any other younger guys that maybe aren't, it's not quite as obvious to us watching that they have that high volume ability?
Guy that's gotten a lot of reps that can come back the next day is Patterson, the offensive lineman. He can do that. He doesn't seem to have a problem recovering. I would probably say from a defensive backfield, Tariq Bracey is probably the top guy from a defensive perspective skill. He can go all day. He's really been impressive in some of the special teams tackling that we've done. I'd say that those guys probably stand out the most. And then another guy that, and we mentioned him already, that's a freshman, is Jafar is in a different category, Jafar Armstrong. That guy is, I haven't seen a guy like him in terms of the volume that he carries, and he doesn't break down at all.
We saw Flemister take a couple live carries today, and we hadn't really seen him. What do you see from him? Is he
he's got,
in the mix?
It's too early to tell, really. We're trying to just get all those guys a little bit of work because, it's a long season, and we know even last year at times, a guy that was unheralded was top 3 in rushing for us, and he didn't play much in preseason camp. So it's important to get these guys some live work. We wanted them to get hit more than anything else, to see these young guys and how they handle contact. So Sebo, Jameer's had a little bit of a hamstring. He's coming back from that. We got to keep force-feeding those guys and keep getting the reps to see, who's that next guy that can go in there and help us.
Sebo, just body part. What was the injury? Do you know?
Sebo had a head injury.
He had a head injury.
Yep.
Dalen Hayes didn't seem to get live contact today.
Patella tendinitis. He's a little sore. Nothing major. We don't have anything that's major other than camp stuff, right? You might have a tendinitis here or a twist but nothing that's keeping anybody out of long-term competition.
You worked quite a bit on kick return today, or gave a bunch of guys an opportunity back there. What is, with the new rule with the kickoff, You have to form a new philosophy as to how you're going to deal with those. What is yours?
Well, first of all, you better have somebody back there that has the capability to fair catch, right? And it's not somebody that is not confident with his ball skills. You know, you're going to have some different philosophies there, and we'll see how it goes. But, you know, if you can get 4.1, 4.0 on hang time between the 2 and the 6 yard line with a real good unit going down there, you put some pressure on the kickoff return team to make a decision. If they try to bring it out with just a hang time scenario, you could pin them inside the 20 yard line quite easily. Or if you feel like that's a dynamic group, maybe you're just going to punch it out of the back of the end zone. So I think it would change from week to week on who we're playing. But the rule for us is one with John. John's got the ability to hang that thing around the 4 yard line and really force you to make a decision.
What about your return man? I mean, is it going to be like, hey, if it's inside the 5 but not in the goal line, we want a fair catch inside the 10?
Oh, in terms of returning it?
Yeah, I mean, even
yeah.
place.
Yeah, so I think what we're working on right now is to find who that guy is that can fair catch it and take it and be effective. Then we'll make the decision relative to how we handle it internally.
Bill Bauer, I'm not sure I saw him. Was he out there?
No, he was out there.
He was out there? Okay.
Yeah, unless something happened that I wasn't aware of. He was a full go.
All right, thank you.
Brian,
Yes.
what have you seen since the spring with Brandon and Ian? What improvements have you seen? And what have you seen the last couple of practices from your offense that you like as it's coming together?
Well, Brandon and Ian, as I mentioned to Eric, I mean, you're just getting a more mature player that is confident in their ability. So both of them are extremely confident. Like, there's no thought process of, Ian's with the ones. Everybody's quite confident in his ability to run our first team. So that's no longer in effect. If you asked me last year at this time, if Ian went in there with the ones, there might be some, hesitation, as to can he lead us. So that obviously is huge for us. As it relates to Brandon, it's just, consistency with accuracy. And he's made progress there. He's not where he wants to be, but he's made significant progress even from the spring, and that's better than what we saw during the year. So incremental progress, I think we're all striving for better, but, again, I think we've made the progress necessary. Offensively, I think it's dispersion of the football to a number of different weapons. Boykin, Claypool, Fink, Jafar Armstrong, Avery Davis. We've got 3 tight ends, 4 tight ends that can catch the football. So a lot of weapons there. Tony Jones. I mean, I could go on and on. I mean, we've got some pretty good depth and guys that can help this football team.
Brian, up top. With your confidence in Ian Book, does that change what you can do with Brandon as a runner? I mean, he had, I think, 140 carries last year anyway, but does it give you a little bit more confidence that
Yes.
you can put him in situations?
Yeah, I think so. I think, when you go into your game plan, you always think about how many carries do you want to average per game. I don't think we'll go into that thinking, BC obviously ran for over 200 yards given the circumstances of what was going on, right? I think we're less concerned about carries with him and more interested in highlighting his strengths and being productive with him.
On the sort of work volume aspect, how has Avery Davis held up?
This is a process for him. So the transition has been real for him from the quarterback position to running back, wide receiver, a little bit of everything. And what Avery's doing is it's a mindset now that his recovery is much more important in some instances because we know what he can do as a football player. So his ability to recover and taking that serious, I don't know that he ever took that serious in his life. I'm a quarterback, we'll throw the ball around and then we'll go run. This is different for him. So the recovery piece is so crucial now in his ability to continue this transition.
We spent a lot of time asking about up-and-coming players, but I was curious about Tranquil and Coney in the middle, where you've seen them sort of turn the dial up a little bit, and also just from a leadership, whether it be vocal, by example, what you've seen from them over the last couple of weeks.
Well, Tavon's not very vocal. We all know that. But I'm really pleased with his consistency in doing the little things right all the time. His SWAT team came in last place this week, and they were required to check in at 6:45 every morning, and he's been the first one here making sure they check in. Just those little things of accountability. I think that that's so important. Drew Tranquil, you know, he presents himself in all aspects of our program from a leadership standpoint, both on and off the field. And because he does it right all the time, we got a lot of guys following him. As football players, Tavon continues to work on his pass coverage, you know, the little nuances of that, and he's getting better there. And Drew on his run fits. Those are the two things. Yeah.
Ryan, excuse me. It's clear the players have seen results and have an affinity for Matt Balis. Given what's happened at Maryland, how do you continue to push the limits in strength and conditioning without going too far?
Sure. I think it's pretty much what I've talked about before. I think the head coach and the strength coach are extremely important in developing a strong relationship on what you want accomplished. So, you know, everybody's interested in bigger, faster, stronger. How do you get there? I still think you get there by being demanding but never demeaning. I think that's the line that's out there. Our players want, when they come over from a day in the classroom, they want to come over here and get after it, if you will, and get after it in a positive environment where they're pushed every single day, and there's a demand on them to get bigger, faster, stronger, but never an environment that's demeaning. I think that's the line that all good coaches look to lay out.
When something tragic like that happens, do you circle back with your own coaches and make sure that everyone's following your protocol?
Well, I don't want to mistake the question. You know, there's the tragedy of the loss of life versus, and again, it's only what I've read, is that some players didn't think that the culture was very strong. So our coaches are responsible for a positive environment and culture as well, how they coach. When I say demanding, never demeaning, that goes for everybody. And anything in this program is my responsibility that happens. As it relates to protocol relative to the young man that tragically passed, that's really outside my purview. That would fall under our athletic trainers and what the protocols they have in place.
And switching gears, since Liam locked down the left tackle spot, what have you just liked that you've seen from him? What does he still need to work on before Michigan?
Yeah, so Liam, you know, we all kind of sense that he had the physical ability to do it. It's confidence, right? He's in there every day against two dynamic pass rushers, guys that can play at a high level. And so I think every day what he gets is confidence in his ability to play left tackle at Notre Dame. I think that's probably the biggest thing. Now, certainly, you know, Coach Quinn's working on technique and recognition and fronts and things of that nature. Don't get me wrong. This isn't just about feeling good every day, but confidence probably would be number one.
Hey, Brian. We discussed Armstrong and Sebo and Davis a little earlier, but overall, just how the running back position, how's that progressing? And then specifically with Tony Jones, just what have you liked about him, and what are some of the areas he's continuing to work on?
You know, Tony's run with a physicality. What we're asking for him is to be consistent in all facets. As a pass protector, as a guy to catch the ball out of the backfield, we want a solid guy to go to, and that we can count on him in all, you know, kind of all situations, if you will. Pressure situations, short yardage, as I mentioned, catching the ball out of the backfield. We need a guy that we can really hang our hat on in tough times, and he's going to be that guy. And then he gets supported with a number of other skill players with Armstrong and Avery. And then, you know, obviously, you know, Dex is going to continue to work and see how that plays out. You know, so there's a lot of other guys that can complement him, but what we need is for him to be that steady influence in our offense, play in and play out.
Coach, you talked a little bit about Tranquil and his leadership qualities. Obviously, moving the transition to linebacker, it's not necessarily new. How does the vision from being back there at safety help him at linebacker, being a little closer to the line?
Well, certainly, you know, playing experience has helped him a lot, especially being at the Rover. He knows the fits and how they work and how it kind of sets up his fits at the will linebacker position. I think what happened here is when we moved him, his instincts were really good for a box player. Sometimes they're not quite as easily seen. In other words, he doesn't feel the ball carrier, and where his fits are. He just naturally had a nice nose for it right away, and he's progressed in pass coverage and all the little pieces of that position.
Anybody else?
Awesome.
Okay.
Great.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, guys.